People write me saying they're worried prisoners are going to get the vaccine before them. And this woman called it absolute, well, you know. But the numbers don't lie. 1 in 4 Oregon prisoners have gotten COVID.
It's scary for us that have loved ones behind bars.
And the Oregon Republican Party is getting international attention for a statement that reads like an online conspiracy theorist typed it in a fringe subreddit. Yeah, here's the story.
Choose your subreddits wisely. Hi, I'm Dan Haggerty. Welcome to The Story. All the ways that you can reach out to us, which we want you to do every night. At the bottom of the screen, use that hashtag #HeyDan. But I do want to get this out of the way right off at the top. I'm sure you probably know about this, but it is snowing, and you know what that means. I think that's a responsible level of drama for today's events. Speaking on behalf of the local news, we're very excited about this. Personally, I do prefer to visit the snow rather than having it the other way around. That said, I do think we should take a quick live look outside, which is something anchors love to say from a warm studio. And it's dark. Gosh almighty, I knew this was going to happen. I forget sometimes that it's dark right now. I'm stuck in here. But look, bottom line, I'm not a weather person. I'm doing the best I can up here with this. It was snowing today, I think. A little bit. I saw it outside. I do know that it's not supposed to snow much longer, that the worst has kind of already happened, and that Matt Zafino is going to be here at 6:30 to tell you a bunch of smart stuff about it. Meanwhile, it is big story time, and shocker, there's more confusion around the vaccine. See, officials told the tens of thousands of 1A healthcare workers still waiting for the vaccine to sign up on a waiting list. And that's exactly what they did. They signed up on the waiting list. Emphasis on the waiting part. But today, they learned that list was scrapped, and thousands of people had jumped in front of them in line. Our Kristen Severance found out it could actually take months at this point before some of these frontline workers even get vaccinated. Kristen, please tell me what happened here.
Dan, the plan set up by county health departments to get all of the 1A people the vaccine didn't work. So these are 1A people who do not work for a hospital. Think people who work for a private practice, physical therapists, mental health professionals. Now with Governor Brown making teachers eligible for the vaccine, those 1A workers are now competing against educators for the same very limited supply of doses.
Do you feel like the 1A healthcare workers who do not work for a hospital system were totally forgotten about?
Yes, 100%. And I used to work at OHSU. Like, I worked at OHSU until last March. And so all of my friends and everybody I know are all getting their vaccines. And I'm like, well, how can I get to it? How can I get it? And they're like, it's invite only. And I'm like, how do you get the invite?
Ange is a medical assistant at a private internal medicine family practice clinic. She's in Oregon's 1A vaccination group.
And like, we're not even taking care of our first responders. You know, there's the heroes that we've all, you know, everyone's been like, oh, we support you guys as first responders. But then all of us out here in the community are being left to like beg basically for our vaccinations.
Gwen Welch has been trying to get the 15 employees at her mental health clinic vaccinated so they can safely see people in the office.
You know, we work with children, we work with, you know, teachers, we work with elderly, you know, we work with all populations who really do need to be seen.
Kate Wood wants to get vaccinated so she can continue volunteering at COVID testing sites.
How are people getting these invitations to get vaccinated? It's a mystery.
County health officials told all of these 1A workers and thousands more to fill out this survey on January 12th. Then public health would match them with a vaccinator. More than 60,000 people wanted appointments. 11,000 were sent invitations. The remaining 50,000 did not get an invite. Now, the public health officials who set up the survey are shutting it down. Those 50,000 1A workers who did not get an appointment will have to start all over again and sign up for a vaccine appointment through a new state-run online system. County public health officials blame the change on the governor for adding teachers to the mix too early and blame the Oregon Health Authority for not sending the metro area enough vaccines. The survey was up for more than 2 weeks with people continuing to sign up. I asked in a news conference why the counties left it up for so long only to shut it down today.
But to be totally honest, we were not able to come to a solution that would actually deal with the number of people that we were talking about. We know folks have heard statewide that the state is close to finishing the 1A group. That may be true for other parts of the state, but it is not true for the metro area.
While 50,000 1A people are still waiting for the vaccine, there are 12,000 doses available for teachers this week in the metro area and just 3,000 earmarked for 1A workers.
And do you have confidence in this system?
No, I don't think we all are laughing about it. It's just been silly. Like, to us, it's like, this is the most disorganized, and and like, this is not a political thing to me at all. I know a lot of people are really angry about Kate and all that. To me, it's not a political thing. It's about a human thing, and we're not taking care of the people who we should be taking care of.
Okay, Kristen Severance, real quick before you leave us, do we have a guesstimate on when these people will be able to eventually get the vaccine?
Yeah, the 1A workers, I would say months. Also, there's one more thing before I go. So this website that these 1A workers and educators are supposed to use to sign up in the 3 metro counties, public health officials said it can't take more than 1,000 appointments at a time and will probably crash.
The website will crash. We're talking about the one where tens of thousands of people are going to be rushing to get kind of a first come, first serve vaccine priority?
That's the one.
Okay. Kristen, thank you. Meanwhile, why don't we show you a quick look at the website right now, which did in fact crash today. Pat Doris, though, did have a chance to log on, and he showed us a little bit of what it takes to actually sign up for a vaccine. Take a look.
To begin with, you want to go to this website, covidvaccine.oregon.gov, and then look down to the very right bottom corner on the first page. You'll see a blue circle, see that? With a white envelope or something there. Well, click on that. That is where you want to start this whole thing. Once you click on that, it will pop up something called the Vaccine Information Tool, and it will tell you you can start a chat. Click on that. A bot will start speaking to you, the computer-generated thing. How can I help you? You want to know about your eligibility. I know you really want to schedule, but you have to do the eligibility. So it asks if you're 16 or over, and it says that it's limited. Just keep scrolling down as long as you qualify and you're in 1A or you're a teacher trying to get into this. And it tells you that Oregon's working in community partnership. Knowing that, do you want to proceed? Yes, you do. And then that'll bring up another query. Are you 65 or older? I don't know why, but I just said no, because I guess that's true. Then it'll say, using the arrows, take a look at the following 4 professional categories. This is where you have to declare that you are eligible. So since this was a test, I decided to say that I was in healthcare, even though I'm not really. And don't worry, I didn't follow through on the schedule. So it says, are you interested in scheduling at the Oregon Convention Center? Yes, I am, because that's where everything's happening. And then it wanted me to answer questions. Have I had a severe allergic reaction to injectable medication? No. Have you had any doses of COVID-19 vaccine already? I said no. And then as we're continuing along, it just gets a whole bunch of questions. Have you tested positive for COVID-19? I said no. And then it says, have you had non-COVID-19 vaccine, like a flu shot, I guess, in the last 14 days? Again, I said no. And then have you been treated with COVID-19 monoclonal antibody? No. And once we pushed that, I think we're almost there. There's a lot of questions to go through. According to the CDC, close contact, it goes through a whole description of what close contact is. And then at the bottom, it wants to know, in the past 14 days, have you had close contact with someone with COVID-19? I said no. And I sure hope that's true. I think that's true. Based on your answers, you have been cleared to schedule your vaccination. And then click on the schedule now. What would you like to do? Don't go down to that. What would you like to do? Just stay with the schedule now. It'll pop up a new page. And I actually am a member of Legacy Health, and this looks exactly like their login page for something called My Health. You don't have to log in, just ignore that stuff on the right, and just scroll down, and you will see that there are a number of days and a number of times where you can schedule your vaccination at the Oregon Convention Center. So just to see if it really would, I clicked 11 o'clock, and shazam, I was to the last step of being able to schedule it. So if you can get in and get through and you really do qualify, this is how you can do it.
Pat got a shazam there. I know a lot of other people have struggled with that website, so good luck to all of you, but we thought that'd be helpful to kind of show you how to get through it. Meanwhile, at the end of the day, there are a lot more people who need the vaccine than there are doses of the vaccine, and that's caused a lot of arguments and confusion, a debate about who should go next, who should be in front of who, and it's a debate that soon will find its way into our prisons and the thousands of people locked inside begging for the vaccine. See, a staggering number of Oregon prisoners have been infected with COVID. The latest numbers say 1 in 4 have gotten it. Think about that. More than 3,000 people, 41 of them have died. Nearly half of those deaths happened this month. And people are upset about this, obviously. Some are suing the state. The Oregon Justice Resource Center filed a class action lawsuit calling for the immediate vaccination of all inmates.
We have heard from multiple folks that even if you're told to stay in your bunk, your unit's on lockdown, you're sitting next to people who have tested positive for the disease. We have an obligation to protect them now. That is the bargain that we have decided. If you don't want to incarcerate people, don't incarcerate people. But now that we have, we need to protect them.
Now, look, the state, you probably remember, has tried different things to keep people safe. There's only so much you can do when they're locked inside of a jail cell. Governor Brown did let some older people, some at-risk older people, these inmates, go home with shorter sentences. And then there was another 1,400 or so inmates, people who can't leave early, who have actually gotten the vaccine. But 90% of Oregon's prisoners have not. And a lot of people out there say, too bad. Here's an email I got from a viewer named Erin. She says, quote, "Am I the only person that is completely outraged that inmates are getting the COVID vaccine before law-abiding citizens? This is abhorrent. Our kids can't even go back to school, and this is happening. This is absolute BS. You are behind bars because you made bad choices. You shouldn't be getting royal treatment. I'm so disappointed in Oregon." So what is Oregon doing at this point? So right now, the state has prisoners in Group 1B, and that 27-person vaccine advisory committee has put them on the priority list during some of their conversations about what to recommend to the state. Oregon lawmakers of color, they agree here. They actually wrote a letter to that committee urging them to move low-income seniors, frontline workers, and inmates to the front of the line. Now, speaking of letters, I actually got one too from our women's prison. A woman named Nicole sent me some sketches of inmates in masks and wrote me a letter. I want to read you the first paragraph of that letter now. "I am coming to you humbly on behalf of my fellow adults in custody at Coffee Creek Correctional Facility. These portraits are to humanize us to the larger community. We are not just criminals, but we are everyday people, mothers, wives, and daughters. People make mistakes in life, but not all of those mistakes should define a person's worth. It's a basic human right to take care of one another and to keep each other safe and healthy." Now, I've been discussing this with people on my Facebook page pretty much all day today. I'd really love to hear your thoughts, too. If you have a few as you're listening to this report, just get on Facebook and search Dan Haggerty KGW. Meanwhile, the state's vaccine panel should tell us a little bit more about their recommendations after a meeting on Thursday.
When the story continues, a big investigation into an Oregon lawmaker says he likely created a hostile work environment for a number of women. His response, he's sorry to anyone he made uncomfortable, but, quote, "dating when you are young is hard." But he's got some defenders in Salem, including a fellow Democrat, threatening to leave the party over how the investigation's being handled.
Welcome back. So you might have heard it is our birthday tomorrow. Yeah, the show is turning 1 year old. It kind of seems like it happened fast. It also feels like I drank from the wrong grail. Anyway, I want to hear from your favorite moments. What were they for the first year of the show? Some people have been sending in the things that they've remembered in the first year, and they've already kind of surprised me. I went, oh, yeah, that did happen. Send them emails, thestory@kgw.com. Reach out on Twitter and use the hashtag #HeyDan. Now, we want to turn to Salem for a second, where a lot is going on. If you're thinking, yeah, Dan, we know you've been telling us about this. The new session just started. Well, hang on to your hat. Don't have a hat? Go get a hat. You got it? Hang on to it, because this has nothing to do with laws being passed. An outside investigation into State Representative Diego Hernandez found it's likely, legal term here, okay, the word likely that he created a hostile work environment for women at the Capitol. See, 3 women told investigators that they had dated Hernandez for a short time and that things got hostile or just scary in some senses when they tried to break up with him. Now, it is important to note this investigation is part of a process that has not finished yet. Okay, so we don't know everything that we are going to know. These findings, though, now head to a committee of lawmakers who will decide what exactly to do with them. But here's the thing. Some Democrats here are really upset about how other Democrats have been treating Hernandez, who is also a Democrat. One is so upset, he told our Maggie Vespa he's probably going to leave the party over it as soon as tomorrow.
The report, nearly a year in the making, details the accounts of 3 women who worked at the Capitol and raised concerns about Representative Diego Hernandez. The women's names have not been released. All 3 say they dated Hernandez for a short time. In the case of 2 of those women, when they wanted to break up, investigators wrote Hernandez made them feel that would jeopardize their careers. In the case of a 3rd woman, investigators say Hernandez sent her texts that could be read as, quote, controlling and abusive. One of the women told investigators after she tried to end things, Hernandez texted and called frequently, left flowers on her car at the Capitol, and showed up at her home unannounced, prompting her to hide in the closet where he couldn't see her. Eventually, the woman told investigators Hernandez stopped texting about their relationship and started sending texts criticizing her work performance. The representative, a Democrat from Portland who was just re-elected last year, has talked to KGW on camera many times before. Tuesday, he issued a statement saying he'd grown up in poverty and trauma, adding, quote, dating when you are young is hard. There is often some confusion, mixed signals, and strained emotions. To anyone I made uncomfortable in my personal life, he wrote, I sincerely apologize. Shortly after the investigation started last year, House Speaker Tina Kotek called for Hernandez to resign and stripped him of his committee assignments. She also demanded he give 24 hours notice before coming to the Capitol. Tuesday, Kotek told KGW in a statement she believes the women, adding, quote, I'm focused on doing everything I can to ensure the Capitol is a safe working environment. Now it seems the speaker's efforts are frustrating more than just Hernandez.
The system is broken, and they were out for Diego without due process.
In a phone interview Tuesday, State Representative and fellow Democrat Mark Meek told KGW he supports anyone who comes forward with allegations of harassment, and he thinks those allegations should be vetted. He also thinks in Hernandez's case, House leadership passed judgment and issued punishments too quickly, adding they should have let the process play out. Meek said things like that can happen when one party has a supermajority. And as a result,
I'm definitely considering changing my party, most likely the independent party.
do you expect to do that soon or to make a decision soon, or is this something that maybe around the next election cycle?
Nope, soon.
Okay.
Like maybe even tomorrow, yeah.
In response, Speaker Kotek said the process in this case is not about politics and called Meek's suggestion otherwise offensive. The report on Hernandez heads to the House Committee on Conduct next week. In short, his fellow lawmakers will decide Hernandez's fate. He told KGW he plans to attend that hearing to present his rebuttal. Maggie Vespa, KGW News.
I got this email earlier today from a viewer named Mike. He says, the once proud Oregon Republican Party that produced great Oregonians like Governor Tom McCall and Senator Mark Hatfield has now descended into spreading total falsehoods about the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol. So how can anyone believe anything these people say anymore? So if you're out of the loop here, let me kind of fill you in, because a lot of national media, even international outlets, other countries are picking up on this right now. And Mike, you're on the money, man. You are exactly correct. It's hard to believe, really. The official Republican Party for the state of Oregon is spreading total lies about the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. The State Party Executive Committee passed a resolution last week condemning the 10 Republicans in Congress who voted to impeach President Trump. But it's a lot more than that, and includes this part I'll read to you now. Quote, "There is growing evidence that the violence at the Capitol was a false flag operation designed to discredit President Trump, his supporters, and all conservative Republicans." This resolution goes on to say, this false flag effort will support Joe Biden's plans in introducing new domestic terrorism legislation. It actually compares the Capitol storming to the 1933 Reichstag fire that the Nazis used to take over Germany. And the argument is just utter nonsense. There is no growing evidence of any of that. In fact, I don't even really like airing these total falsehoods on this show, but I do think it's important that people understand that this is coming from the official state Republican Party. This isn't your crazy uncle. This is not a QAnon believer in some subreddit. The official Oregon GOP. We asked our political analyst Len Bergstein about it.
It's a bizarre strategy. I have no idea what is on their mind. This is one of those classic, what are they thinking? I mean, there is general talk about the fact that the Republicans are appealing in ever larger numbers to an ever smaller constituency. And this seems to be part of that strategy that says we need to kind of hone ourselves down to the kind of refined to the just most livid, ideological supporters of a position, and that's going to be our strength as opposed to attempting to either deal in truth or to a wider audience. It's absolutely nuts to talk about the assault on the Capitol as being a false flag operation. That's just bizarre. It's out of bounds. It's not realistic thinking.
So we want to know what our leaders are thinking about this. So we've reached out to every state Republican lawmaker. We'll continue to do so and ask if they support how their party characterized the Capitol insurrection. We're going to give them some time to respond to us, of course, so stay with us, and we'll let you know what we hear back. Now, you may have missed this yesterday, probably not. A driver went on a tear of hit and runs through southeast Portland yesterday, hitting people in the streets, hitting bicyclists and cars. One woman was killed, 9 others got hurt. The driver was arrested, taken to the hospital. We don't really know a ton about him. We'll probably at least find out his name once he's booked into jail. Police today saying that this wasn't terrorism, it wasn't politically motivated, it wasn't a hate crime, but they do believe it was intentional. But that's about all we know. As you can see, there's some videos that are circulating online, things like that. But you may remember that we had something similar to that happen here back in May of 2018. This man named Greg Porter drove his SUV onto the sidewalk campus and hit 3 women. One of them was a PSU freshman. They all survived, thankfully, but they were hurt pretty badly. Porter told police he was homeless, that he had marriage and financial troubles. And if you were around here at the time, you remember, it was a really big story. And if you were wondering why we never really heard much more after that, it's because now almost 3 years later, Porter still has not gone to trial. Doctors have repeatedly found that he is not mentally fit for trial and that he can't meaningfully make decisions about his case. Court records in that case are sealed, so we really don't know anything specific about his condition. But in a phone interview with KGW in the fall of 2018, Porter said that he, quote, just lost it after having money problems and other personal issues. He also made several delusional statements. He is still, at this time right now, in a state mental hospital. All right, please keep the questions and the comments coming. Use that hashtag #HeyDan. I'm going to read some of them and address some of them to finish the story next. All right, Dino wrote me on Twitter, said, "Hey, Dan, why aren't vaccinations being provided to prison staff? If the prisoners are in prison, how are they getting the virus? Oh, I don't know, from people who can leave the prison freely, maybe?" Dino's thinking, and he's right. Okay, and staff are actually getting vaccinated, but the numbers are it's kind of a gray area. For instance, about a month ago, December 28th, they got 400 Moderna vaccines to start distributing to prison staff, and did so, we believe. They've also told us that now they are actually siphoning the remaining employees, and there are thousands of them, about 4,600 total, through Safeway. So they don't really have metrics at this point, which opens up a whole other kind of book of questions that now I have. So Dino, thank you. You've given me a direction. I'll start asking those questions, and I'll let you know what I find out. Keep the questions coming. Keep interacting with us on Facebook. That's the story for tonight. I'm Dan Haggerty. We'll see you tomorrow. Laurel Porter's next with the news at 6:30.